So I want to go back, I guess, Bri, I want to start, I guess, with you, because I have a bunch of questions for you. One of them, as I was doing my research, kind of just realized that I'm extremely jealous of you, not only because you're really talented, but also because you've gotten to meet Chance the Rapper. And Chance is like my childhood, like growing up, like acid rap was my entire junior year, the first junior year of high school, when I first got my car and I could drive to school. The only album or project that I ever listened to in my car was acid rap. Like it was every single day driving to school. Um, so I have to ask you, you auditioned for The Voice a bunch of times, starting when you were like, what, 15, 16, 17, around there. Um, Really? Okay. So yeah, so really young and like you kept coming back, you kept at it, which is amazing. What was it like when Chance was the one that turned around? Like how did that kind of work and I don't know, what did you feel? How did that whole kind of thing evolve from there?
Yeah, I feel like it was such a crazy experience. And I wish that I had like a better answer for you, but I think I was fully blacked out when that happened. I think there was just like this because of when he turned at like my very, very last note. I didn't even kind of realize it until after it happened. I was just like in my head preparing for thank you for your time. But then I like slowly realized that he had turned. And at that point, I was like literally frozen. I was speechless. But once I got to meet him after we had some like words exchanged, he came back and he met my husband and my mom, and he was so kind and he was really nice. And I was definitely like very starstruck. So it was super cool.
I think I would have blacked out as well, so I don't blame you. Uh, Very certainly, actually. So, I think there was a point in your journey with on The Voice where Chance had kind of said to you, like, more emotion and less perfection, and it's kind of some of his advice, at least from what I kind of understood from it and had got the ability to see. And so, I'm curious how that changed or that like advice or coaching, like how you kind of took that because the type of music that Chance made and got really popular on was this kind of like really raw, imperfect, lots of random noises and like like things that were so sonically helpful for his stuff, but maybe wouldn't fit in the music that you were making. And so I'm really curious how kind of like that advice that you and maybe it wasn't even just Chance, like throughout your whole time on The Voice, like how did the advice that you got there apply and get implemented and help you develop and evolve, as an artist and impact the music even that you make now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that was probably like some of the best, but also hardest advice to hear because I am such a perfectionist. Like, I want everything to be perfect and perfectly in time. And yes, I want to be emotional with my performances, but I never wanted to let it get like out of control. And I feel like when I was there, there were multiple coaches that had said, like, we just want, even if you mess up, like, just be more emotional. And so I think it kind of like took me out of the perfectionist zone or mindset and just encouraged me to like just erase everything and just feel things more, which I am grateful for because that has led me to like do vocal things that I never would have thought of, or like even when I'm doing vocal comps now or when I'm doing live stuff, like if there's a break in the voice, let's just leave it. If there's a vocal fry, let's just leave it and like let that be part of the song. Like it happened for a reason. Like let's just lean into that.
Yeah, for sure. And Austin, I guess for you, like, is there a where do you draw the line where it's like, oh, this imperfection came out and it's great versus this imperfection came out and it's something that we need to address? Is that like, hey Bree, do you like this? Or is it like, hey Bree, I really like this. What do you think if we keep it? Or kind of talk to me about like the dynamic between the two of you as you work together, like with those types of things, like addressing perfection and making sure that you don't kind of over index on it, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think Brie and I have been on the same page quite a bit when we're tracking vocals. I mean, it's funny that you're talking about, the imperfection side of things, because I think the longer in my career, that I've been working with artists and producing, I'm sort of finding myself seeking out those imperfections more now than maybe a couple of years ago, where I would have, pressed of like, oh, let's get another take. Let's keep trying, let's keep shooting for that perfect thing that actually doesn't even exist. And so, anytime I'm in the studio with Bri, I think there's been plenty of times where your voice might break at a certain point, but it's the most human element that can possibly happen. And so I'm again finding myself more so like, hey, that's what I want to capture. I want the human part, especially as, everything else becomes more perfect around the song. I mean, that's just pop or pop country or something. It's like, the music itself, the production, it's so polished and clean. I think it helps to balance that out with capturing more human takes, whether that might be the vocal fry or the breaks in the voice. But that's been, what I've been finding for at least myself and my journey for like the past maybe year or two of really seeking those things out.
And I feel like as the two of you have worked together for so long, that conversation, one, becomes extremely comfortable, right? Where it's like, you don't feel
For sure.
you don't feel a hesitation to bring up like, oh, maybe this could be better. Or, hey, your voice broke, but it sounds awesome. We should keep it. Don't worry about it. Let's move on, right? Like,
Completely. I think it's a matter of just being on the same page, and creating a studio environment in which those things can happen and you can allow them to happen and the artist feels safe and comfortable. I mean, I think that's the only, real safe way to allow those things to happen just naturally and then just to keep moving on from there.
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's really good at like, I sometimes can't look at things like big picture. I'll just be like obsessed with like one little line and then he'll be like, let's listen back in context. And then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And so he's good at, like,
Exactly. Most artists are like that, like super dialed into the nitty gritty. I'm just like, honestly, you're the only person in the entire world that's ever going to notice this, And so I think it definitely helps to, maybe, zoom out a little bit and get the context of what we're trying to do. And then to realize that like, it was fine. Let's keep going.
It is so true. Like you'll never, the 99.99% of listeners will never hear the stuff that you hear as the creator.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
So Bri, you've had some songs come out recently. I think I have It's Too Late came out, that was in middle of May, right? Like around the 15th or something like that. It's doing pretty well. Talk to me about the inspirations behind it, the creative process. Are you a vocal melody first? Are you a guitar first, piano? Kind of how did it come to be?
Yeah, I feel like this song is actually the most unfamiliar starting process than the rest of mine. I'm usually like, let's play on the guitar, let's find a melody, then let's think of a title, and let's kind of like backtrack and go from there. But I was writing with my friend Abby. She had this like chorus melody. And it's very rare that people like bring melodies to me. And maybe that's just like my experience because they know I'm like weird with melodies. But she sang the It's Too Late line. I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. And so we kind of like worked backwards from that. And it's just about like lyrically about being in a relationship with somebody, saying like, we're going to take things slow, we're going to be cautious, and then like completely just throwing that out the window and being like, whether you feel this or not, I'm all in. I think it's like a really cute little fun love song.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Austin, do you
Yeah.
have any production insights from it that you're like, oh, we did this one thing that was super cool, or was it really kind of just
Yeah. I think, I mean, that song in particular, I think we branched out maybe a little bit more than we have for some other songs that Bri and I have been working on. I mean, stylistically, it kind of, I think we even went down a road and then said, like, actually, like, what if we try this? I think we had gone down maybe a more just, standard country like approach to it. And then, was like, Bri, why don't we, or you wanted to go more R&B with it or something, like give it some flair that like, hey, like we have no clue what's about to happen or where this is going to go. But I mean, that's kind of all part of it. So I think we scrapped quite a bit of things and came back and found some like cool guitar part that was just, I would never hear that in a pop country song, that kind of thing. And so I think we intentionally try to smash together two worlds and just kind of see what happened. But Bree's notorious, I think, for some vocal runs. I think there's quite a few things that she does vocally that is also maybe out of the norm for the pop country sound. And so I think this time around we were trying to steer the production a little bit more closely with how Bree is approaching those melodies that she's talking about, and just really structure a track that maybe just stretched her sound a little bit and just kind of see what happened.
Yeah. When you were making that, so was that, and I guess it's an obvious answer maybe, but like that just kind of happened over the course of the song. It was never from the beginning like, oh, let's take it this direction. It was just as you were in the studio together, working on this together, it just kind of naturally evolved into this thing. Is that kind of a correct assessment of it?
Yeah. So usually for my production process, there's two ways. Usually, I'm in the writing session and have a little bit more influence from the get-go on just like the structure of the song and have a better interpretation of where it's heading. But at the same time, I'm also brought plenty of songs that I wasn't a part of that session, and I think you just sent me like a guitar, acoustic guitar and a vocal demo, right? That I'm left to interpret and to start, putting some puzzle pieces around, the structure in this vocal. And I think maybe at that point in time, we were in the middle of, a few other songs that, are a little bit more standard country or pop. And I was kind of just, putting some of those elements to this one. And then I think when we got to a guitar session, I'll bring in a player. And I think, maybe midway through, it was just like, actually, like, can we try to go a different route, and I think that's, the start of a really fun process and journey of realizing, oh, you know what, like, let's scrap everything so far. Let's go back to square one. And now we have this new thing that we're all going to just figure out together. And I think that's one of the most fun parts of this whole thing is that I had no clue at that point in time where this was going to go. But, now that it's finished and it's out, like I couldn't be more proud of it.
Did you have to selfishly ask, are there any Musiversal musicians on it?
Oh, there's Musiversal's instrumentalists all over it. I think
okay.
pedal steel for sure. At least on the EP. Let me see on that song in particular. I'll have to check because I know I used pedal steel almost like every single one. A guy named James, he's great. Okay. Some of the tracks we had strings. Some of them we had drums. Bass. Aaron. He was a player. I mean, yeah, I'll have to give you a list, but I mean. I'd be surprised if Musiversal didn't touch every single song in this EP.
Love that. Love to hear that. Bri, I wanted to not like transition from that, but like in the same vein, like you're an independent artist, you live in Nashville. Mm-hmm. What are the 3 things that are like maybe 5, whatever, that are the most helpful for you? Maybe I'm going to assume Austin is in there as one of them. What are the 5 things that are the most helpful for you? Whether it's your morning routine to Austin as a producer to your notepad and pen, like what are the things that allow you to do what you do as an independent artist? Because it's not easy, right? Like it's so hard to get things done and manage all of the different stuff that you have to do. Like what do you find are the things that, are the most helpful for you on a day-to-day?
I feel like that's such a broad question because I wear so many hats. Like I have like the songwriter hat and I have the artist hat and then I have the producer hat and then I have like the freelance hat. So I feel like, oh my gosh, it's hard. I feel like if we're just wrapping it all up in one, it's surrounding yourself with people who understand like where you want to go. Like if I were to write or produce with people who didn't understand me at all, I feel like that would be really hard. So I'm really proud of like the people that I surround myself with and the people that I work with and the people that I trust with my art. So I feel like that's probably the most important thing as far as like career wise.
Okay, so like network, like the network that you've built for yourself, the people around you. And then you mentioned like them deeply understanding you. Is that like years of relationships, or is it like you met somebody a couple months ago and they're really good at what they do and you just kind of hit it off and you have a great connection with them? Or is like, have you known everybody that is around you for a really long time? Because for me personally, it's like not that I'm an artist, but like anything I do in life, it's like it's really helpful when I know people for a while and I kind of understand them better. But you never know
Yeah.
who you meet that immediately kind of gels with you right away.
No, for sure. I think it's like the time put in. Like, for example, I think the first song I did with Austin versus the last song I did with Austin has grown like crazy good. Like, we've really got into a fun rhythm. So I think you
Hmm.
kind of need to put in time with people to see how your personalities mesh, see how your work styles mesh. Otherwise, like, yes, there's that random once in a while that you meet somebody and it's like, oh, we get each other. But I feel like that's so rare. And I think it's almost even cooler when you can like learn as you go and like build that trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You I think you I was looking at like an interview clip or something where you were talking about it was a song I think called New Her.
Hmm.
And you said it was like it felt like it might be like the start of a different chapter for you.
Yeah.
Um what do you mean by that? Like what I guess what I'm getting at is what's your next chapter or same chapter just different? Like what do you want people to know about you that you have coming up that is exciting?
Yeah. I truly feel like that song was the start of a new sound for me as an artist, but it was also like me marking some personal growth that I have and had to go through. I think, yes, the season of The Voice was so exciting, but I had to learn a lot about myself. I had to break down some walls. I had to go to therapy. Like I had to really figure some stuff out. So the era of the new her is just like me looking back and appreciating, okay, I love who I was then, but I'm so glad that I learned all these lessons and that I am who I am now because thank God. Um, I really, really love like where my sound is going. I feel like it's giving me a safe space to kind of like experiment with some new things, but keeping like the storytelling and the songwriting kind of like this universal tone. So I'm just really excited to, yeah, chase this new sound, chase this new me, I guess.
This is a potentially an introspective one, maybe in addition to that, but like as you chase that sound, chase the new you, and not even chase, but discover it and find it over time, do you find yourself like as an artist, and this is for anybody that would watch this after, is like, what would your like self critiques be? Like, what are the things that you're like, oh, I should be doing a better job at this, or I should worry less about this? Like, you're further along on your artist journey than a lot of people. So, like, I'm curious for anybody that's watching this, what are the things that maybe they might find themselves discovering over time that as you've gone through your journey, you've learned?
Yeah, I feel like there are so many. I think mental health wise, I've really, and it's something I still struggle with, but I have to remind myself, you can't compare yourself to anybody. Like sound wise, social media wise, like all of that. It's just better to kind of just like, not like put your blinders on, but put them on a little bit. Be aware of things happening, but also like focus on yourself. And if you like what you're doing, just keep doing that. Um, a lot of things I've had to learn is like, don't be so hard on myself. Like, I used to listen to a mix, 15 times and be like, oh, you're just so particular about it. But it's
Hmm.
like you said, 99% of people are not going to notice the little breath or the little, like, you know, I'm just trying to be more easygoing and kind of like go with the process and just like trust myself when I am in the studio or when I am singing live. Like whatever happens, it was supposed to probably happen anyway. So just lean into that and build off of it.
Yeah,
Well said,
that's
Bri.
good.
That's good.
Yeah, it is really good. And Austin, I think it kind of like for me, it kind of goes to you as like a follow up because you sit in a different chair in the studio, right? You're pressing a lot of buttons and moving dials and coming up with ideas and all of that to support the artists that you're working with and to help write and produce. So like for you, like, do you find that you have similar learnings, even though you're doing something not very different, but relatively different than what someone might like Brie might be doing in a studio? Like, do you find that you have the similar conclusions over the course of your career, or does it change a little bit given like what you do?
I mean, I think the longer that I'm doing this, the music is sort of like the bottom of the totem pole in the studio with an artist. I mean, learning how to communicate and just be there and to interpret and to, I mean, really just support a vision more so than just to, try to press any sort of envision that I might have for a project. But I mean, it really is just it's a people job. And I think, I mean, Bree touched on it great too. I mean, I love working with people who see, there are multiple hats to wear. I mean, if they want to be successful, then they're going to have to obviously put the work in and the time in on their music, but also like the business side and, the marketing side. And there's just so many little aspects that go into it. And then when I find myself, when I work with artists who maybe don't grasp, all of those hats that they need to wear, it can be challenging because they'll be so focused on one aspect of the process and then they'll allow another part of it to lack. But yeah, I mean, I'm just finding, my role in the studio is just to be a chameleon. It's to be whatever I need to be at that point in time, with that artist. And, maybe there's a writer there as well, so if it's on me to maybe, try to come up with more ideas, lyrically, or to, to hold back and, keep my part of the process specific to just coming up with chords and things. I think that's what I'm learning the most is just, really fine tuning, who I am and who I need to be, in each session and how to best support each artist I'm working with, just because it can be a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes a ton of sense. And I think one of the things that I was curious about as well, Austin, is like, one, you made a big move recently, correct? In Nashville, not in Sweden, right. But you also did shift your location temporarily again to Sweden. But you made a big move recently. How did that process, moving the studio around? You have a family. Like, how did that whole dynamic of like life happening impact or change anything musically for you, or was it just like business as usual, or were you kind of like, I'm no contact for a couple of weeks?
No. I mean, it's certainly business as usual. I mean, I think, being able to adapt no matter what the scenario is the only way to survive, especially in this industry, So I think, yeah, I'm going to be without a studio for a while and I'll have to figure out how to just continue my sessions, as usual, which is why Musiversal is great. I mean, I can use it over here, and still, get some session work done on projects. But no, I mean, in general, it's going to be a big move. Finally get to build a studio from the ground up. So it's going to be designed and thought through for exactly what I, the space that I'm trying to create and want to create, I finally get the chance to do it. And for the family too. I mean, my wife is just very excited to not have people walking in and out of the house like every single day, so I mean that's going to be like a big win there, is that it's a separate space now and then nobody's going to have to go through the house anymore, which yeah, she'll be happy about. But yeah, the exciting things. And we only moved like a few streets over, so it's like the same area, girls go to the same school, so life in and of itself won't be that different, but for us it feels like the next chapter, the next level up.
Good. Yeah, really cool. So now you're in Sweden, and
Mm-hmm.
how do you keep things rolling like when you're over there, right? Like how do you, is it, you mentioned Musiversal being really helpful and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of have like a minimum viable setup over there, or is it laptop and headphones?
No, I mean, we come here every summer.
Yeah.
My wife's family's from here. And so because we don't get to see them that often, we try to be very intentional with our time. And so that's why we spend 2 months here. And over the years, I've just slowly, accumulated little bits of studio gear. And I finally found a space here that I can work out of, that I can travel to. And it's a gorgeous studio that amazingly just lets me have one of their, like a production suite. So it's a real tiny space, but it's my own space. I can set up my monitors and got my screen and, have time to myself to, either continue or finish out projects that I've had going on in Nashville, to finally catch up on maybe some like demos that I haven't gotten to, or to maybe start new projects and start pitching things out for, when I get back to Nashville. So for me, it's a really good time to kind of just slow things down a little bit. And again, kind of zoom out to see, okay, like what are all the things that I'm trying to do, and to be a little bit more intentional with my time, as well as decisions on the projects and artists that I really want to focus on.
Yeah, makes sense. What time is it over there right now? It's still pretty light out, but I assume it's pretty late at night.
Yeah, it's almost 9:00.
Oh, nice, man. I'm so close. That was the case.
Yeah, this time.
Yeah.
I've got a session here at 10:30, and it'll still be. I mean, it'll be darker than this, but sun will still be up. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's a good dopamine boost, man. I think we could all use a little bit of that. Yeah. Bree, so for I was gonna the reason I was asking about that is because as a producer, Austin has the ability to kind of he's got his projects, he knows what his work kind of workflow is and all of that. But I feel like the artist workflow is like a whenever inspiration strikes type of thing. And I'm curious about that for you. Like, is that a true assessment? Is that kind of how you feel? Is it like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write today for 30 minutes or for an hour, or I'm going to play guitar, or I'm going to try to produce something? Or is it whenever something hits me, I have the ability to kind of sit down and go make it? And then what I was going to ask to layer on top of that is, I'm not sure if you travel around doing gigs anywhere or anything like that, but how does that kind of interfere with maybe that inspiration striking? I don't know if that question makes sense, but yeah.
Yes, I'll work backwards because I'll forget
Cool.
the question.
Sure.
But yes, I do travel often, and I think it's actually better to do that because I can get into too much of a rhythm here in Nashville. You write your 11 to 3, then you go do your writer's rounds, and then I have my jobs that I like side jobs I do on the weekend, and I can be so scheduled out that I almost have to like schedule in creativity.
Mhm.
So I like kind of getting out of this city and experiencing life. And I just went to like Yosemite with my husband, and that was like a great refresh for my brain. I had so many ideas. I came back feeling better. Um, I think it's important to like get out of town because when I do that, I'm forced to like take off of my very, you know, scheduled day to day. Because when I am here in Nashville, yeah, I like literally have to schedule in time to like sit down for 30 minutes and like come up with some ideas. So I like having the flexibility to do both.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense. I never, I don't do enough creative work, so I never think about like that element of it, but I would be the exact same. Like I'm so regimented at this point that like for me to find myself being regularly creative, I would have to like allocate time for it. And like all of my ideas for anything come at night at like 1 in the morning. And it's like that is not my time to like be executing things. So
Ideas in the middle of the night and I'll write them down, but I'm not acting on it.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. So well that's really cool. So Brie, like you talked a little bit about like when you get into like the traveling scenario where you're out and doing different things and your schedule is like disrupted, but in a helpful way, almost it kind of sounds like. Um, how do you find yourself like continuing to work on music, the creation of music, not because you could travel to Yosemite and get great content and like that's working on music for you at the same time, but like um, working on the actual production of songs and writing of songs, like how do you find yourself kind of making the time? Obviously, you said you have the schedule that it's more flexible when you're doing that, but how do you find yourself like allocating the time specifically to being like, I'm going to write or I'm going to produce or I'm going to do this, even though there's all this other stuff around me that I haven't done before, maybe? Is it more of like you kind of treat it like you're at home, or like how do you like approach staying productive while you're out and about?
Um, I think that I don't know if this is the correct way to do it, but I think when I'm out and about and I'm out of town, I think the space is really good for my brain, and really good from like preventing burnout.
Hmm.
So I think of it like if creativity strikes, like act on it. Obviously, I think it's really good to like stay on top of socials and like write down some ideas. But when it comes to like production and the actual like creation of music, I try to take some brain space from that so that when I do come back, I'm like excited and like fully into it because I think sometimes I can get a little overstimulated with all the things I have to do because every single day I wake up and there's like 1,000 things I have to accomplish that day. So I think taking the space from that and being like, okay, I'm going to tackle that in 3 days when I get home. And for these 3 days, I'm going to enjoy life, literally be a normal person. And when I get back, I'm going to have so much more capacity for tackling that project.
Cool. Yeah, it makes sense.
Hmm.
Awesome. I'm trying to think what else. Like, I guess this question would be like for both of you, but one of the things that I'm always curious about is you as a duo, as people that work with each other often, I'm sure you have a bunch of demos and ideas that are sitting either on Bri's terabyte hard drive or on her MacBook or on Austin's hard drive or his MacBook or whatever. Um, I guess how many of them are there? And do you have the plans to make any of them start to come to fruition soon? Or is it like new idea is better always? How does that kind of work for you guys?
Let me
You want to
look.
take
Sure. I mean, I've got stuff. Let me see here.
many, but there's definitely some.
Yeah, I mean, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. It's nine. I mean, there's nine songs that we've done specifically together that are for your project, and then we have some sync
Probably
stuff that we've done, for
repeat.
pitch.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think. You've cut a lot of these, but let me see. Like "Light a Fire," that was the
Oh,
duet
I
with
do.
JB. That's a good one. "My Parade." There's some good
Yeah.
ones. I mean, David, that's a funny thing is that's what I like to do when I'm here, because I finally get the chance to kind of cycle back through some old demos and just see like, why didn't that move forward? I think there's a part of the process where it's like, hey, not every song like is going to see the light of day. That's just part of it. I mean, I've got probably thousands of songs that will never see the light of day, but there are a few that, if you just gave them a second chance, then you'll kind of figure out like the missing piece on maybe why, it didn't work the first time around. I've had plenty of songs where it was like we changed, a verse and the whole thing just clicked, and then it became, one of their best songs kind of thing that they put out like 2 to 3 years after the initial write. It's like, so there's no, like time isn't really a thing in the music world. It can be songs written in a day and put out, and it can be great, or songs can be written, years in the past and then come out and then also do great. But I like to just, yeah, cycle through old demos and see what's there. And I there's probably some Brie that if we gave it another shot, they might see the light of day.
I know. I think it's all about like timing too. Like for
Hmm.
stuff that was releasing when we wrote some of the other stuff, it might not line up, but like for the future, I'm sure if you just like find the right time for the EP or the project that you're working on, you just never know. Like there's not really, like you said, a shelf life for a song. So sometimes you listen to it a couple years later and you're like, oh wait, this is really good.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, just taking some space and then listening to them again and like listening
Hmm.
with like new, you know?
It's so interesting.
100%.
I talk to a lot of different artists, and they all have their own answer to that. And I always find it fascinating for each one of them because you get the artist that's like, my sound is always evolving, and the newest thing I make is always the best thing I make, right? And it's like that mentality of I don't even want to go back to my old stuff because I'm so different now than I was even 3 months ago, right? And then you have the summary of like, oh, I made something 3 years ago that I'm like rehearing in my head, and this one thing can change about it's always amazing just to hear how people kind of revisit that stuff that sits on the hard drive because I personally, I don't know, I have like 20 of them, and
Well,
everybody, has hundreds or thousands sitting there. Like,
and both can be true. I mean,
yeah,
both can absolutely be true at the same time. If that's someone's process that they never look back, then that works for them, and
hmm
that's great. And
right.
others, yeah, I mean, there's probably some gold nuggets if you just dug a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And yeah, who knows? But I totally get the idea of an artist being, at a specific place, whether it's mentally or, relationship wise or something, and not wanting to go back to maybe a specific moment, because they feel like they've grown from that. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. But again, I think that's, each artist has their own journey and how they approach songs. I mean, that's what they do. And again, my job, I just try to find opportunity, and then I think, hey, I think this sounds good. Why don't you put this out? What's wrong with it? So I have a very limited point of view from all that stuff. I just want to hear good songs, and I think good songs deserve to be heard, and that's all I care about.
Right. Yeah. And It's the difference, right? Production versus, being the artist, right? I think it's a stark contrast, but they're at the end of the day achieving or working to achieve the same goal, right? Which is just to make
Right.
something that benefits and shows the world, who that artist is. So, yeah. What's something, I guess, that, the two of you are working on right now that you're particularly excited about? Are there any releases that you can tease?
We're finishing up the last song that's going to be on an EP. And I'm excited about that song, but I'm more excited about just like the overall stuff that we've accomplished this year. Like, I just feel like we kind of crushed it. And
Mhm.
yes, I really my singles, but I'm excited to kind of like wrap them up in a package and for people to kind of like listen top down and kind of like hear how they're cohesive, but they're also very different from each other. And I think that's really hard to do. So I'm like very proud of how we did that.
I mean,
Yeah,
but your voice is the glue, and I'll tell that to any artist. It's no matter how the song sounds. I mean, people are listening to it because they like the way you sound, and so the production can change, but your voice is the constant through all that. But I mean, I agree. I think I'm excited for just the completion of a body of work. I mean, it's cool to just realize that, oh, what has all this been leading to, and to finally, cross the finish line on the last song, then put them all together and just, kind of close the book on it. That feels great. A lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money went into it, so it'll be good when it's all wrapped up and out in the world and, then on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I was literally just gonna say, how long does the? I'm always so curious about this. Is like, how long does the feels great last for? Where you're like, oh, it's
One
out.
month and then you're on to the next. It's
Yeah,
over. Run.
Exactly.
yeah. That's always the thing. I never would be able to do because I'd be like, man, I just worked forever on this thing, and the next day I would be like, all right, it's out. Now I'm gonna go make a new song, right? And
Ex-
now I'm gonna start the next thing. I love it. That's awesome. So I wanted to ask, Bri, obviously Austin has been, was talked to with Musiversal for a while and has used it. And do you ever find yourself on the sessions as well? Do you ever find yourself booking? Do you ever find yourself hearing it and being like, or hearing a song that you're working on and being like, oh, maybe we could add this to that. Austin, go figure it out. Or you come with a part that is kind of in mind. Like, talk to me about maybe like how you've interacted and how Musiversal has maybe been impactful for you, not just on Austin's side.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've used it as a really cool tool for my stuff to get like strings and stuff that would normally be a little bit harder to get here. But I've also been producing a lot for other artists. I have like a couple of young artists that I'm doing a little bit of like artist development with and producing their stuff. And so I think I've done like 4 songs like solely with Musiversal. So I've been on there. I've been booking like everything you can think of. I'm on there.
How have you found the experience? I hope it's good. You can say whatever, but like I hope it's been solid for you. And then to follow up, like, did Austin kind of give you some tricks, tips, advice when you started using it in that way that was like kind of helping you get over the learning curve? Because there is a slight learning curve of using it.
Yeah, he prepared me a lot, and the best advice I think was like to be completely like prepped with your chord charts and know exactly what you want the players to do. And that was something that I like kind of did the first session, but I was kind of like, oh, we'll just wing it. And then I was like, okay, so that's what he meant by like be prepared, like have thorough notes, have references, um, have some stuff like figured out. But I also feel like a lot of the players that I've worked with, they've been really kind and really helpful to like be like, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm hearing here, and they're like, let me try something, and then it sounds amazing. So I feel like it's been a pretty stress-free experience. And there was even like one session that I think I'm bad at time zone math. That's like my worst. I'm horrible at it. So there was like one little communication error with the time, and I couldn't be there, but I had all the notes in, and they literally did exactly what I wanted, and it was perfect. So
Very cool. I always find because Austin is very prepared with the sessions, which is amazing. That's a super helpful thing for the musician. But For me personally, one of my favorite things, and I think it's because I'm not a professional, I don't quite know exactly what I'm looking for, um, is when you finish kind of the stuff that you do have prepared to let them improvise and be like, okay, what do you hear on this? Do you have any experiences like that? I think you might have said briefly there, like there's a couple times where, they kind of played something on their own, but do you have any experiences like that where it was kind of like a do your thing, it's in the key of G major in a 1-3-5-1, give me something, and it came out incredible?
Yeah, so I'm producing this song right now for a girl, and she wanted live strings, and she was like, "I want an orchestra." I said, "I mean, I could try," and so I booked a cello session, and we did like the standard. We did like a little bass layer, and then I was like, "Okay, we'll do some improv takes, and like let's just see how many sacks we can get for the bridge." And it came out freaking amazing. It literally sounds like an orchestra. It's so cool.
Yeah. I think that I'm not biased, but because I'm a drummer, I'm like, I can play my own drums, or I've got friends who can play guitar or whatever. But when it comes to like a cellist playing a cello, I'm like, yeah, I definitely don't know anyone that could do this. Like this is insane.
And she hit like she got these high notes. It sounded like a violin. I said, "Love it. We'll use that."
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, awesome, awesome. Have you played around with any of the, like audio editing or vocal alignments or like hand tuning with Melodyne or anything like that yet?
I have not. I saw that there was like mixing. I saw that there was like for help, like you want to learn more about Logic.
Sure.
So I've thought about like dipping my toes into that, but I have
Yeah.
not actually.
I'm always curious because like when people use Musiversal at a really high level, they clearly have a lot of stems coming back at them and they're clearly recording their voice and stuff like that. And there are these services on there where like you can have someone go in and do all the comping or all the time alignments and hand tuning for vocals. And it really is I always wonder for more of the professional audience, like how often people are booking those things. Just anecdotally, because I think it is like maybe the most one of the most slept on services on there.
Yeah,
Austin, have you been using that at all recently? I know you kind of like to do a lot of it yourself, but yeah,
I mean, I've used it. I've used the tuning and time alignment,
yeah,
and guy crushed it. It was great. And I think what I'm finding, uh, the type of project which I would use it on, I think I'm more inclined just with maybe demos or sync songs, for sure to utilize Musiversal in those aspects. But for me, I mean, because the vocal is like the most important part, and because I was the one who recorded them,
yeah,
I'm already a little bit more familiar with what things should be. And yeah, I think I might struggle in that aspect of like letting go of that particular part of the process, just because it's so, I mean, nitty gritty of like the balance between, how much I want it to be Melodyne. Like I don't want to be perfect like a robot. I also need to be a little bit more on pitch, but not so much where it's, so there's like all these little things that just part of my workflow and my process for artist specific projects. I like to
yeah,
handle that part myself, but I've used it for like demos, and really kind of helping to like make the sell, because I honestly don't really have the time these days to sit there and Melodyne,
right,
20 stacks of vocals for just a demo. I don't
right,
get paid, to make demos, right?
yeah,
But I still want to give the song its best chance so the artist hears it in a way in which they like it enough to where they want to pay me to produce it, right? So I think for me, I'm using it specifically to kind of help make the sell for like demos and things, which, for me is a huge time saver. So I can focus on, maybe other projects that, I am getting paid for, and, allow some demos to kind of help elevate to the level in which an artist can hear it. A better example of what the song could be like.
sure, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It's the kind of like the taste element and curation of when it's an artist's vocals for a song that you're producing and working with the artist on, you want those selections and decisions to be yours versus somebody else's.
I do. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. All right, well, I don't have too many more questions, but I have one for each of you to wrap things up, which is, Bri, what's something about like professionally making music that nobody tells you before you start?
It's addicting.
Mm,
I think that there's a good side and a bad side to it. I feel like it once you start doing it, like it's truly the most fun and creatively expressive thing that you'll ever do, but it's also the most time consuming thing that you will ever do. It is start to finish, like months of work. And I think that like as a listener, people are probably like, oh, they made this song and it's so great. And that took 6 months, honey. So I feel like that's something most people might not know.
yep. Yeah, I always think about that when it comes to especially like producers and independent artists because you're always kind of there's always something to be better at. Like my voice could always be better, or I could be always be a better drummer, or my guitar playing, or my piano playing, right? And it's always something that I'm like, oh, let me practice piano for 30 minutes tomorrow, or guitar for 30 minutes today. And I'm not getting much better at any of them, even though I am practicing. But it's like it just takes so long and so much time to really get good at all of these things. I guess shameless plug for Musiversal there is like, but the reality is today you don't have to, right? And for me, that like was a really big learning. Like when I started trying to produce songs, it was like, I don't have to be a good piano player. I don't have to be a great guitar player. I just kind of need to be competent enough to get an idea out there and then let people that are way better than me do this, right? That are, way better. And then you can do the thing you're really good at, which in your case is writing songs and producing and singing. And, so yeah, that's my little thing about that is I agree with you. It is very addicting, but it is extremely time consuming for sure. Austin, for you, making music professionally, what's something that nobody told you before you started?
And that nobody told me. I mean, being a therapist, I don't think was ever like a bullet point that I saw, when I signed up for this, but realizing like that's what most of the time I'm doing, and it's a great thing. And I love getting to that point where like you can get so comfortable with somebody and like break down some walls and then to create something like that's truly unique with that person. But I mean, I wish someone would have told me, maybe also, and I got to phrase this carefully, like to just not care as much, like to care, but to not hold so tightly onto anything, and I'm imagining much more difficult for artists, each song, like that's their baby, and they pour their heart and soul into it, and I understand, giving everything into it, but on the side of production and working with a lot of different people, what's really helped me and what I wish someone would have told me was just, hey, try to always take a step back, like be the perspective in which I can see the big picture here, and it'll kind of help steer the ship to where an artist, can also get to that same perspective. Otherwise, man, I've wasted so much time and energy on things that don't really make that big of a difference in the end, and it's like we all want the same thing. We all have the same goal of just creating music that we're proud of and that we believe in. But there's a lot of things, whether it's on like the technical side or, like the creating side, like choose your battles, like there's really no hill worth dying on in music, at least for me, as a producer. I think an artist probably would think differently, and I've certainly run up against artists who are, I mean, just, hey, it's this way or the highway. And that's perfectly fine. So I think for me, it's just finding that good balance of, hey, like, someone is trusting me with their song and their vision, but at the end of the day, I'm also providing a service, and it's my job to kind of help, pull this out of them and, do my best and to steer it the right direction. But really just to let go and kind of like Bri said, like, hey, things are meant to happen, then let them be and just kind of ride the wave. And that's what's really given me a lot of peace over the last couple of years is I'm just happy with whoever comes through the door and whatever we create, you know, I'm just happy like at that, and the rest kind of just takes care of itself.
Yeah. I think it's such good advice because, and it's such a great learning. I was just recently, I don't know where it was. It might have been YouTube or a podcast or something. I was listening to Phineas talk about his relationship with his sister, Billie Eilish, obviously. And I thought about the process of me and my sister trying to make music together. And it would be like the worst thing imaginable because both of us care very deeply about what we're doing and anything.
Mhm.
And there would be a lot of heated discussions, if you want to frame it that way. And one of the things he was saying was like, I can't allow myself to like get mad about those things or to push back to the point where it causes an issue because at the end of the day, like it's her artist, it's her vision as her as an artist, and for him, like his job is to kind of execute that as a not in the background, but just as the means to the end of the song, right? Which is the person who is helping it come to life. And you know, Billie's vision for her artistry and her content and her lyrics and production choices and all of those things. Like he said, if I were to, you know, try to make them my own, we would never finish a single song, right? And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
um, yeah, I can't imagine how he does it with his sister because I would not be able to do it. But like exactly what you're describing is like removing yourself from like that deep level of like this is mine and realizing it's partially mine, but it's theirs, right? It's the artist, it's Breeze,
Right.
it's whoever you're working with, and it's
Completely.
my job to help them realize that in whatever way that they can. And so, yeah, that's a really cool piece of advice or learning, whatever you want to call it. That's awesome. Thanks for that. I did want to ask you, Brie. I don't know if you saw. We have I don't know if you use it for anything. I've never personally used it, but we just signed this partnership with Groover. And I don't know if you use Groover for like yeah, for like playlisting, distribution, anything like I don't think it's not like DistroKid or anything like that. It's more for like playlisting and stuff like that. It is, I think it's like 50%. It's like a good deal, whatever it is with them. So I don't know if that's something that you're already using or paying for, but if not, um, give it a look through Musiversal. I don't know if you'll find it helpful to you or not. I've never personally used it, but just for getting the word out there kind of on the marketing side, it might be really helpful and it is like a pretty nice discount. So, you know,
Yeah, heard great.
off the recording, don't sign up for it on their normal site. If you are going to use it, use the code for Musiversal. It'll save you some money.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll look that up. Thanks.
Yeah, it just came to mind as we were talking. I just remembered that we just got that across the finish line, so that was cool. But all right, well,
Nice.
we're at time. I won't keep you guys any longer. Austin, thank you so much for jumping on here late at
Sure
night.
thing.
Thanks for hopping on again and being open to do this and everything. We're gonna do a cut up a couple clips of it and see if we can't make some pretty cool stuff for people to watch. So we'll let you know
Sounds
and we'll
good.
promote your stuff in those clips as well.
Thanks, David.
Awesome, awesome. Take it easy, guys. Nice to talk.